Hi, my name is Zoran. In this video I will show you what you can do if you have encountered a large LINQ expression and you cannot manage it anymore, how you can decompose it into many small expressions so to maintain and develop further each of those separately without affecting the other parts of that initial expression. You may know me from my Pluralsight videos, where I have published a dozen of video courses. If you like what you will see in this video, watch my courses at Pluralsight, like making your C# code more object-oriented, that is the very good one, or the latest video course I published, Collections and Generics in C#, or subscribe to this channel to receive notifications about new videos and live coding sessions. So let's step to the problem. We are continuing the discussion from the previous video where we have effectively constructed a large LINQ expression only to find out that it is ridden by issues. This expression is solving the problem of fetching the data about visitors to a, say, website in the last 48 hours in order to construct a histogram of activity. We have figured out that not only that this expression has a bug, an effective bug, because the group by operator it uses cannot fill in the missing sample. So if the histogram had many empty bars, periods of no activity at all, those elements of the histogram would be missing entirely because group by cannot fill them in, cannot add the missing entries. Apart from that lack of functionality, this expression is also mixing levels of details at which it is operating, so it is mixing infrastructure and then domain-related operations and the UI logic all in one place. If you wanted to change any of those, you would change the entire expression that could affect the other parts of it and introduce new bugs. You don't want that. So how do we solve that? How do we solve this problem? We solve it by defining more types and more methods in the places where they belong. So we had that repository-related or infrastructure-related code at the beginning. Let's go close to the repository and define extensions that apply to the repository itself. You know, repository, in common applications, repository is like bare metal. It's giving you data in the format which is probably driven by the format of the database, not by the format that you need in the domain layer. You can always, and this is a general rule, you can always define a bunch of extension methods that apply to your repositories, like this one, which is, I don't know, getting time window for these samples, for these objects representing activity. And you see those two calls get usages from latest, which is a plain repository method, and take while, which is a LINQ expression applied to those data, so to cut them into a window of activity. You can define an extension method which does both, and then call that method above where you need the data. What's next? Domain. Domain, very complicated set of operations in the domain which is effectively constructing the histogram. The result of these 3 lines of code is a sequence of tuples, each tuple representing 1 bar in the histogram. So this is clear domain logic. And I don't have the histogram defined in my domain, so let's fix that. For example, I can take those 3 lines and build a dictionary, not a sequence of bars, because some bars will be missing and that has already proven to be a problem, a bug. But a dictionary. Now, dictionary already says that some keys will be missing, so you must be ready for that. But I could have defined a histogram domain model. I didn't at this stage, but what I did was to remove these 3 lines from the expression above, put them behind a name, get hourly histogram. That is a domain name. And what can I do with that? I can add more domain logic. I can attach more domain logic to the result of this method. Look here. Getting minimum value, getting maximum value. getting the height of a bar in the histogram. These are the names of domain-related operations. Look how the getHeight method is operating. It is looking for the key, and if it's not known to the histogram, it is representing with a 0. Those are those missing bars. They will have height of 0. I couldn't do that, at least not easily, with bare LINQ. But now that I am moving LINQ into a domain class with extension methods, which is a fast prototyping approach, now I have names for these elements that will be used in the UI. The UI is the next stage. So let's define an extension method on this dictionary representing the histogram, which is showing it on the console for debugging purposes, for example. Don't read this code, or if you want to, stop the video and read it line by line. I'm not going to explain it. The point about this extension method on the dictionary is that it draws a nice histogram on the console. So, what about this large expression we started with? Nothing. I will delete all of this code. I don't need it. I want something totally different here. I want to start from the repository and do a complex query on it. Get me the entire window, 48 hours starting from the time now and all until the cutoff time date in the past. Get me all the data. Give me the hourly histogram built from those data and show it on the screen. This is the code I like. And this is the code we get when we decompose the large LINQ expression. All those lines, all those chained calls from the original LINQ expression are still here in this code base, but in many different places, each place where it belongs. And where is that? Let me just run the application first. Here is the histogram. It works. It works very well. And if you watched the previous video, there was a bug. Here is the repository. The bug was obvious when events were rare and many bars were missing. Let's run the application now. It didn't work well in the past. Here, the histogram looks correct this time, with many bars being empty because there was no activity in those hours. So everything works fine so far as I can see. And then what can we notice in this organization? For one thing, this histogram UI extensions class with extension methods, one extension method at this moment, belongs to presentation or UI layer. If I had a separate namespace for UI, this class would be there. The usage record, which is a domain type, and the histogram definition, those will be in the domain layer, where domain code lies. That is where I would put these pieces of code. And repository extensions, repository, and everything below this line, that is infrastructure. I don't want to see that. That goes somewhere else where I don't see it. Alright, and what is this above? Depending on your application, that will be the endpoint, the controller, application entry point, anything. So this is the application if I had separate namespaces, or in a large project even separate assemblies for UI, domain, infrastructure. Those segments of code below would fit those other places, and there would be these 4 lines of code to complete the application entry point or an endpoint or whatever. So this was the process of decomposing a large and overly complex LINQ expression so that segments of that expression are placed where they really belong for better maintainability in the first place. If you liked what you have learned in this video, go and watch my Pluralsight courses, and see you in the next video.